Rob, what's going on in the Southwestern Conference in Week 1?
Yeah, we'll go to the SWC, the Southwestern Conference, where Avon, I tell you what, they just decided to take a vacation and head down to Florida and maybe play Merritt Island while they were down there as they start their season in Florida. And Merritt Island started off quick with a safety on a snap on a punt that was high, and it went out of the end zone. And after the free kick, then Merritt went 45 yards on 8 plays and scored a touchdown. It was 9-0 at halftime. In the second half, Avon, though, they came to life as Ryan Malloy, the quarterback, had a touchdown run. He scored on 3rd down and 14 from 19 yards out. The score after 3 was Merritt Island 9, Avon 6. Then running back Nick Parasek, and sorry if I butchered that, he went to the house on a 62-yard run with 2:40 to go. That gave Avon their first lead at 13-9. Merritt Island would score one more time before Avon would come up one more time, and it was a big one as Ryan Malloy, the quarterback, connected to wide receiver Chris Mullins on a skinny post that Mullins took to the house with 26 seconds remaining, giving the Avon Eagles a 20-16 victory over Merritt Island, the Mustangs, and this was on Thursday night. Avon improves to 1-0. They will face Olmsted Falls coming up on Friday.
Man, quick, this will be a recurring theme, folks. They're jumping right into conference play.
Yeah.
In Rob's conference
week.
here.
Yeah, one non-conference game, and it's
vacation's over.
Yeah, let's just jump right into couch. Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you what, not a bad way to start the season for Avon is they go down to Florida, but they get a win, and next, they come back home, and all of a sudden you face a very good Olmsted Falls team on Friday. Next, the Midview Middies. This was an interesting game as they took on the Lorain Titans, and Lorain jumped out to a 26-7 first-half lead on a series of big plays by the Titans. But the Middies, you can never count them out, even though Dustin Crum, the quarterback from last year, is no longer there. Midview took its first lead of the game in the third quarter when defensive lineman Brandon Gilchrist came away with a strip fumble and returned it 18 yards for a touchdown that put Midview up 28-26 in the game. Lorain would score once more, but another game with late heroics as Midview senior quarterback Seamus Higley, with his team trailing late in this game, scored on an 85-yard drive and went on a 26-yard touchdown pass to Zach Gill with 57 seconds left in the game to give Midview the 36-34 lead. The extra point was good, and that's actually how the game would end. 37-34 Midview with a huge comeback after trailing in this game, 26-7 in the first half. Midview you'd think was down and out, but again, another comeback in the second half, and Midview gets its first win of the season. Seamus Higley, 20 of 34 for 239 yards and 2 touchdowns. Connor Wolf, the running back, 138 yards and a touchdown, and Midview will host North Ridgeville come on Friday.
And that's a fantastic
could be my favorite name of the season.
Favorite name, although it's pronounced Seamus, not Seamus.
Oh, well,
kind of like my name is Sean with S-E-A-N. Same thing.
Oh, I would have never knew
It's an
that.
It's the correct Irish way of saying it, Rob. Everyone gets it wrong.
Seamus, I'm sorry.
I've been called Cian more times than I care to pronounce. So as a man who has to deal with that in life, I felt
I was like, this might be a new name that I haven't seen before. Seamus. I apologize for the whole entire highlight there of Seamus.
The only reason I said it is because it sounds like he's going to be a presumptive player every week. So let's make sure we get the name right.
And you know what? Next time, just stop me in the first part.
I wanted to make sure.
You're on a roll, man. There is no way that we could have jumped in on that one.
But I also was like, okay, maybe it was one of those where it was just one of those 1 or 2 players or something like that. But it sounds like he's going to be a guy we're going to be talking about.
Probably.
I mean, as a guy who got yelled at by Buckeye fans.
I figured it was a different name that I haven't seen before. So. Thanks for correcting me on that.
You're welcome.
And I apologize to Seamus. Is that
Seamus?
Wow.
Oh
Sorry.
My God.
It's one of those days.
Seamus.
It is Monday, everyone. It is Monday, week 1.
Yep. Let's work
it
out.
I apologize to Mr. Higley.
Boy.
All right, but he had a great game.
Way to play conservative.
That's
Mr.
right.
Higley.
Yeah.
We're going to run the
We'll
ball
just
here,
say
folks.
that and go with it.
I gotta say, man, taking over for Dustin Crum and Cody Calloway is not an easy feat, and he certainly jumped in with into the hot water there and led a huge comeback against a good Lorraine team. Lorraine lost some players from last year, but they've been a perennial a playoff team, a very tough out the last couple of years. I mean, so you can't take this win lightly at all. It's a huge win for Midview, and this should they'll be worth some points later in the season for sure.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, first game of the season, you don't think about points too much, but you have to in games like this, especially non-conference. Lorraine's always a good team, very athletic, and they get a lot of wins during the season, so that's a big win for Midview. Now, Elyria, as they travel to Avon Lake, Avon Lake would score first. It was Connor Riggs on a 17-yard run. It was 7-0. But Elyria would score twice, going for two twice and converting only once to take a 14-7 halftime lead. And again, Elyria didn't have their starting quarterback, as Josh mentioned, and also their kicker and punter were out of this one. So anytime they would score, they were going for 2 points. The Pioneers did have a great drive late in the game, but they couldn't deliver that knockout punch to extend the lead. And instead, on the next drive, junior quarterback Jack McCulloch found Caleb Burr among a trio of Elyria defenders for the tying score. And Noah Fawkes booted the extra point for Avon Lake, and that gave them a 21-20 lead. And ultimately, that was the game winner, 21-20. And Ed, I think we corrected me on this name as the first win for Matt Kostelnik.
Yes.
That's his first career win at Avon Lake, and it's a come-from-behind fashion. I wanted to make sure I said that again right because I remember I had to be corrected the first time on that last time. But his first win, and you've played with him. Talk about what kind of a guy or what kind of a coach you think he'll be at Avon Lake. Because, I mean, he stepped in. You know, they trailed, and Avon Lake ultimately played really hard and got a win for him in his first career game there.
He's young, energetic. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I did not play when he was. By the time he came to Mount, I was not playing football at the time. But I knew him around campus. And, you heard. He was destined for greatness even as a younger player for the team. I mean, you heard a lot about him. And then even after I graduated, he's when he became a stud for the Purple Raiders. Going back to your alma mater is always a good thing. I mean, especially as the head coach. So he brings the youth. He brings a good system. He knows what the tradition is at Avon Lake, and he's bringing quite the pedigree, having came through Mount Union and won a couple national titles there. So it's a great hire, and he's the type of coach that'll be there for a long time.
Yeah, and he gets his first win. Avon Lake will take on North Olmsted on Friday. Now, Josh kind of covered it a little bit. Strongsville at Berea Mid-Park. In Strongsville, what a way to start the 2017 campaign as they scored 4 first-quarter touchdowns and moved to a 28-0 lead. Johnny Major then would start the second quarter with a 61-yard run, making it a 35-0 lead. It was 35-14 at halftime. Then Berea Mid-Park, they wouldn't give up, scoring the next 4 times, 2 times by Trevor Bazinski on runs there. And then Vega with a touchdown pass from Bazinski, and Agnew a running touchdown. That cut the lead 35-28. But Berea Mid-Park couldn't get closer than that as Strongsville scored 2 more times, once again by Johnny Major, who scored or helped score 7 times for Strongsville. The Mustangs held on for the win. It was 48-34. Berea Mid-Park travels to Westlake. Strongsville will take on Hudson. And some stats. Trevor Bazinski was 28 of 45 for 342 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day. And Josh gave Johnny Major good time. I mean, he had a lot of props there. Big-time player scoring on many of the touchdowns or at least helping. I mean, running for 167 yards and also passing for 176. That's pretty impressive to go, and he does it all, I guess, for the Mustangs so far.
So far, so good.
He was solid last year, so let's see what the Mustangs could do. But a big win for them in a rivalry game against Berea Mid-Park. Now, Clairview, they traveled to Amherst. The Clippers against the Comets. And the game actually remained scoreless until the late second quarter when running back Kennedy Scagliazzo ran in for his first touchdown. It was 14-0 Comets at the half. Then Scagliazzo would score 2 more times in the third quarter, and the Comets led 27-0 after 3 quarters. They would go on to win big in this game, 41-6 over the Clippers of Clairview. And it was Mike Passarello's debut and his first win for the Comets, so congratulations to him. And Kennedy Scagliazzo, what a game, scoring 4 touchdowns, I believe, in this game. And he's their main running back. He was there last year, did a solid job, and he's going to be there again this year.
Sounds like he's taking on more of a focal point of the offense this year, even more so than he did last year. So, I mean, that's got to be great for them.
Yeah, he had a great game. The offense came out and just lit Clairview up from the get-go and kind of set the tone, although it was scoreless until the late second quarter, but it seemed like they regained control there. Amherst will travel to Lakewood on Friday. Now it's Eastlake North against Westlake, and this game was interesting in the first half. The second half, the Westlake wishes they weren't there for that one. The Demons would score first as quarterback William Blood, who also plays on defense, scored on an interception and run back for a touchdown. The kick was no good. Then Eastlake would score to take the lead at 7-6. And then Westlake again would answer as Blood connected with James Coleman for a 75-yard strike. It was 13-7, and it ended up being 20-16 at half. Eastlake North, though, in the second half would dominate as they outscored Westlake 27-0, and they won big 47-16. And Westlake was in it in the first half, and the second half was just a tale of 2 stories there. Westlake will host Berea Mid-Park coming up on Friday in a tough loss for them, and hopefully they'll bounce back against a very good Berea Mid-Park team. Westlake senior quarterback, though, William Blood, he passed for 140 yards, completed 6 of 20 passes, though. Got to get a little more consistent with that, but, his first game as a varsity quarterback, he covered 75 yards. He also picked off a pass and returned it for a touchdown. It was senior running back, though, James Coleman for Westlake. He had 108 yards and a touchdown and a catch of 75 yards. So nice job by James Coleman in the game, but, again, Westlake loses to Eastlake North. North Royalton and North Ridgeville, and this was a very good game. It was 9-0 North Royalton at halftime before Shamari Williams of the North Ridgeville Rangers would finally break through in the third quarter, cutting the lead to 9-7. Do you have something you wanted to go ahead. You can.
No, I mean,
Go ahead.
You want to say a team this game?
Sure, I don't care. Yeah, throw in whatever you want.
All right,
because
enough.
both games. Me and you both had these games, right?
We did.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the Bears were up 9-0. North Ridgeville came back. They got it was a slow first half.
Yeah.
And it was all the scoring didn't happen until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, North Ridgeville really struggled, I think, in that first half. They couldn't find the offense until, Shamari Williams, at least. He was solid last year, a very good running back, and I think he's got to be a leader for the Rangers this year.
Well, he's going to have to be. I mean, you have you're used to having a dominant running back with DeMario McCall from a couple years back, but they do have a very good sophomore quarterback who seemed to step up a little bit this game. North Royalton also has a good sophomore quarterback. Joe Marusik threw a 26-yard touchdown pass, and after a successful 2-point conversion, North Royalton led 17-14 after Williams put the Rangers ahead 14-9 on that 2-yard touchdown run.
Yeah, when you look at North Ridgeville, like you said, Tyler Richmond, the quarterback for North Ridgeville, he came back. I feel like they had some nerves going on in the first half, but calmed down in the second, and he connected with Cannon Kerr for a 65-yard play. North Ridgeville did take a 21-17 lead in this game, and then the Bears would strike again.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is for North Ridgeville, they left the Bears a little bit too much time on the clock. Marusik drove the Bears to the 12-yard line, and with 31 seconds left, he completed a touchdown pass to senior wide receiver Miles Sternad, giving the Bears the 24-21 win over the North Ridgeville Rangers in an old-school Pioneer Conference matchup here.
I think the nerves in the first half calmed down in the second because all of a sudden they forgot, hey, this is just football. Let's just play. They go out and started scoring. And, give credit to both these quarterbacks, though. Very young, and I think when they needed big plays, they both really came up big. It was just North Royalton had the ball last.
Exactly. And Marusik had some time as a freshman last year. For a team like North Royalton, you don't really see too many freshman quarterbacks in Division I, Division II type of ball. And same with North Ridgeville. You have two sophomore quarterbacks dueling it out. I mean, as you could tell by the start of the game, it was a little bit rough going there, but they found their feet and they had a nice little shootout there in the fourth quarter. So I mean, we're looking forward to seeing how not only North Royalton is from my side, but from your side, Rob, how North Ridgeville's Tyler Richmond grows into it.
One of the things that I saw, because I was kind of following this game when I was looking at some other scores when we were covering our game of the week, was you really saw how much North Ridgeville specifically is going to need Shamari Williams to be that guy offensively. As he goes, that team's going to go. I mean, their defense obviously did not match up or maybe failed to stop North Royalton from driving the ball down. I mean, I know no defensive coach that says, oh, God, please don't let them have the ball with, we left too much time. You want to be able to dominate. And I don't think that happened for North Ridgeville. But I think, offensively, once Shamari Williams got going for them, it became a lot easier for that team to make different plays. Not so much in the running game, but also it kind of got everybody in a rhythm. And that's important for a sophomore quarterback. I mean, keep in mind, it's likely he did not play much at the varsity level last year. So you need that constant in the backfield to say, hey, I can take the ball, and then allow that sophomore or younger guy to come out, or less experienced guy maybe, to come and make plays on top of the production that a guy like Shamari Williams is getting. Really interested to see how North Ridgeville ends up playing out the season with that respect. Really impressed with the grit that I saw out of North Royalton. A team that's kind of been in the bottom of the basement in the Suburban League for the last couple years, just trying to get some kids out there to play ball and really show the talent. And to be down and have an opportunity to go and actually win the game is very impressive for a team like North Royalton, and can really, carry them throughout the season. That's one of those galvanizing early wins, especially when you're looking at the Suburban League for North Royalton. It's going to be tough for them, to go through that division with Stowe and with teams like that there. So, you want to be able to go back and say, hey, we were down in North Ridgeville. We came back and won this game when those adverse conditions pop up.
Yeah, North Ridgeville travels to Midview, and North Royalton will take on Parma coming up. So North Ridgeville, I think we're going to see what they're made out of really quick is a very tough Midview team.
Yeah.
You look at some of the stats. Morisic had 204 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. For Tyler Richmond, he had 147 and 1 touchdown. Rushing, Zach Antonio had 145 yards and a touchdown for North Royalton, and Shamari Williams had 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. So very impressive stats for those guys. Now, Medina and Lakewood, we talked about a little bit, and this was all Medina early as they dominated this game. Lakewood would score a few late touchdowns as they lose 30-14. It was 30-0. Medina led after 3 quarters, but a few touchdowns by Lakewood. Lakewood's going to travel to Amherst, and Medina, as we said, will travel to Highland. Now, the last game I have here is North Olmsted as they traveled to Valley Forge, and it was junior running back Darren Anders for North Olmsted that had an unbelievable night. He had 182 yards on 19 carries and 3 touchdowns. He was also a threat in the passing game as he pulled one in from 67 yards, caught it and ran as he caught it from junior quarterback Sean Albin for a few plays. And in the third quarter, it was 27-0. North Olmsted would lead. Valley Forge would score late as the Eagles get their first win of the season, 40-13. They host Avon Lake in North Ridgeville coming up here on Friday. So North Olmsted, congratulations to junior running back Darren Anders. He had a great night as he had 182 yards and 3 touchdowns and giving North Olmsted a win. This was almost like last year. North Olmsted played Valley Forge in Avon, I believe it was last year, and they dominated that game, almost the same exact score. So North Olmsted gets a 40-13 win, and an impressive one.
Yeah, I mean, Valley Forge is a young team. I mean, I talked to their head coach a little bit after our scrimmage. Another Mount Union guy, Marcello DeAngelis, and I was talking to him a little bit beforehand. Valley Forge, unfortunately, in a school in a district that has so many schools there, that Parma Senior, Normandy, the two Catholic schools, Padua, Holy Name, and it's tough for. And not to mention the big boys,
Yep.
Ignatius ads and all that. It's tough for a school, for those types of schools to. To really thrive, especially in the environment that we're in now, But he's got a good young team there. A lot of those guys played extensive time last year as sophomores and juniors, and maybe even some freshmen. So they took their lumps last year, and we'll see what happens when Valley Forge gets into conference play in the Great Lakes Conference. But I'm looking for they're going to play hard. For Coach DeAngelis, and I have no doubt that they'll create some problems for some teams. They just ran into a buzzsaw for North, that is North Olmsted in week 1. That's all.
Yeah, I wonder with those Parma schools if they'll ever come together, almost like Berea did with Mid Park. If they will join forces and kind of maybe not all 3 schools, but maybe 2 of them would join eventually. You never know. But
well, I mean, I think we see that, and not to go off on a tangent, we see this. We discussed that Friday night about Lakewood. Lakewood is essentially in the same position that the Parma schools are in, because any talent in that area, in that school district, is more than likely going to go to the private school. Not to take anything away from St. Ed's and the way they run their program, but I mean, if you're a quality player or a player that has some talent, you're gonna want to go play for a team that has a shot at a state championship every year, and that leaves some of the public schools out in the cold a little bit, and it makes the parity in these divisions and these leagues a little bit downtrodden, I think, because of that very fact. It's hard, when you schedule the Parma teams, because that they're playing with the teams that are playing with the players that aren't at St. Ignatius or aren't at Holy Name or aren't at Padua or aren't at St. Ed's or St. Ignatius or wherever. I mean, that's something that these schools have to deal with, and I think, Rob, that's where everything's trending. Is you're going to see these Parma schools just merge into a giant conglomerate and pool their resources from a sports standpoint and say, look, now we have to, because it's what happened in Berea Mid Park. It seems to be working. When obviously with a new coach and a new program, there's going to take time there, but there's talent there, and I think that's something that a lot of the school districts who are wanting to be competitive say, look, maybe it's best for us to just become, for the sports to just become one and pool our resources so that we have that that competitive balance that the OSHA is trying to create. I mean, the competitive balance is needed in the conference play, not so much in the playoffs. Well, I understand why they only can concern themselves with the playoffs. It comes down to a fact that it really becomes like, we don't want to see a situation where North Olmsted plays Normandy 2 years in a row. And I mean, Normandy barely gets on the scoreboard. That does nobody any good, and it doesn't make the kids at Normandy feel any better when they're playing, the situation, when they have to go play that, because they know they're at a disadvantage. Obviously, no coach is going to admit that they're at a disadvantage, but any onlooker can say, hey, when all your talent's going to the Catholic schools and you have no talent, you're basically not fielding a team, and now you're running the risk of these kids feeling embarrassed on a weekly basis. That's not good for morale, for student morale and things like that. I mean, this is a scholastic sport, so it has to derive its. I mean, this isn't paying for play, but not again. I didn't want to go on a rant, but that was a conversation that Rob and I had on the sideline last week, and it was because of the fact that Lakewood, unfortunately, just does not have the talent sometimes to keep up in the leagues that we're in.
Yeah, absolutely, and good points there. My player of the week is going to be junior running back Darren Anders, who had 182 yards on 19 carries, and he had 3 touchdowns for North Olmsted in getting a big win. And Kennedy Scaglazzo was close for Amherst, big win, but I think he's going to be there pretty much all year round. So
yeah,
congratulations to Darren Anders. Just a great night there for North Olmsted. Right now we're going to step away. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, the Suburban League National and American Division, Sean and Ed will break down that league and tell you everything that happened from this last Friday. All coming up. We're Sports on Tap. It's our Ohio High School football coverage. Week 1 edition.